welcome to another round of Coffee and Questions, or late in the day, your favorite beverage. So, like I say in all my videos, I belong to a couple of forums, and there's also a local club. There's probably 15 people total, and we don't all meet at once, but we do meet occasionally. And it's kind of like there might be 7, 8 of us, 10 maybe at the most. Depends on everybody's work schedule and social activities and stuff. Anyway, what was the topic? Well, we were going to talk about clamps. And somebody had got up, kind of brought, it's a show and tell kind of a thing a lot of times. And they bought the Breman clamps from out at Harbor Freight. And I don't own them, but I got a chance to kind of demo them, take a look at them, ask questions, and I thought I'd share a few things with you on those. But somebody, when we were out there talking, said, well, you ever interested in buying any of the Bremen clamps? I go, well, not at the moment. I go, if the need rises, I think if you look at cost when it comes to bar clamps, it seems to be a fairly reasonable deal. I mean, seriously. And seems to be well constructed and so forth. And I made some notes on it, but somebody said, well, what do you use at home? Well, I have 2 different types. A long time ago, there was a neighbor having a garage sale. He was dumping everything, and I bought some old school bar clamps. And they're a little rusty, but I can clean them up and they still work great. I don't know how old they are, but these things are built out of solid steel, little wood handle, but they are incredibly strong. So this is one type, and I had 2 of them, but I had a bigger project at the time. So I bought these online. These are Irwin. I got the 2 pieces in a kit, put my own metal pipe, my steel pipe in here, and I use these, and I can make them whatever length I want. So this came in real handy. So I've got 4 of the Irwin, I got 2 of the old school ones, and I thought that's fine back then for that project, or those projects that I was working on. But in the more nearer term, I've been using, Irwin speed clamps, and I've got 2 different sizes. Again, I got these off Amazon, and they work real great. I've had them for years, and they're still holding up real well. And I got the smaller one. So I got about 4 of the small one, and I've got about 4 of the larger ones. Or maybe I only got, I got 4 of them. Anyway, the thing about the clamps, no matter which one that you get, there's a tip here. I had a friend that long time ago, he said, well, after he cleans his clamps up, tries to clean them after every use, because sometimes you get glue drippings and so forth on there. He puts, like I do on a lot of my equipment in the shop, like Johnson's paste wax, just a smear of it. He told me that way, if anything drips, for him, and it does work, I've tried it, it just chips right off without a problem, and you're not sitting there scraping and trying to get your clamps clean. So I thought that was, a pretty good tip. Now back to the Bremen ones for a second. One of them out there said that, he had read online, which he thought was a good idea. It's got kind of like a C channel on it, on that aluminum metal kind of bar. He took a thin piece of wood. I'll show you a picture right now. And he put that in there to, increase the rigidity and the sturdiness of the clamp. That was a pretty good idea. Not that you have to do it, but, he wanted to because it makes it much, like I said, a stronger tool. The other complaint, and I saw it even like in the comments online, is it's got in those pads, when it comes up and pushes against the wood, it's got some kind of I don't know if it's an oily material or some kind of a material that seems to leak out onto the wood. Like I said, I don't have any experience in them, but they told me out at the club that, yeah, that happens. But his solution, kind of common sense maybe, is he took painter's tape and he put, like 3 or 4 like patches on each one. And then when he pushes them together and tightens them, well, he doesn't have that problem. So let's make a few general comments, about gluing wood. We'll stick with wood for a minute, because I have used the bar clamps on things that were made out of metal too, but that's a lot more forgiving than wood. If you put two pieces of wood together, like long grain, like this, like if you're going to make a tabletop, or it doesn't matter, however you put them together, actually, people sit there and they tighten the hell out of these things, and then they'll make like a bad comment, like, well, it left marks in my wood. Yeah, because you're over tightening it. So yes, when you put two pieces of wood together like that and you tighten the hell out of it, you're going to get dents and marks in the wood. Okay, you shouldn't do that. When you do that, you're putting so much pressure against the two pieces of wood, you're starving the joint of the glue, which is what's intended to bond and hold it together. Then you criticize the clamp, the glue, or whatever, and it's really not their fault. It's the fault of yourself because you over tightened it. And like I said, you starve that glue joint. So you don't do that. You just bring it up and you snug it on there. Now, another reason people will do that is if one piece of wood's got like a slight little bow or something in it, yeah, you can tighten the clamp a lot of times to suck up that gap. Because that's not, again, you're going to be starving, that glue joint. The best solution there is whether you have a hand jointer or a jointer. So the purpose of the jointer or the hand plane or whatever you want to use is to make it so that these two pieces of wood come together perfectly. You put the right amount of glue on there, you snug it up, you leave it alone, there you go, you've done it the correct way. Now, the other thing is people have done in the past, they'll take a wet towel, like let's say you glue these two pieces of wood together, and you have some, of course, that's going to seep up and out or from below, and they'll take a wet rag and they'll wipe it down real good, and they'll figure that's just going to raise the grain a little bit, and I'm going to sand it anyway, it won't be a problem. And then what happens is it's not noticeable at first, but then they go to apply the finish, and then you have this bleed through, because what happened is when you wet the towel and you wipe that joint, you also pushed it down into the grain of the wood, and it's set up in there. And so unless you're going to run it through like a large sanding machine, or you're going to run it through a wood planer or something like that, you've kind of screwed yourself, because when you apply the finish, you won't be happy. You're going to have to strip it, sand the daylights out of it, and then rinse and repeat everything that you were doing. So what's another way around it? Okay, well, don't over glue, first of all. I mean, if you do, you do. Go ahead, put the wood together, tighten your clamps, leave it alone, and let it dry, okay? And when it's dry, I take like a dull, it's not totally dull, but fairly dull putty knife, and I kind of scrape along that joint, and I pop all those little beads of glue loose. After that, I'll go through my sanding protocol, or the way that I sand, and then I don't have that problem on the bleed through. Just leave it alone, which is something I think people have a hard time doing. Now, the other thing is when I'm gluing up something large and I have it on my workbench, I'll put wax paper below it. So that way, I don't need to worry about the little glue drips if there is any. And then the other thing I'll do is when I put these clamps on there, I don't set the bar right down onto the wood. I can use small little wood blocks and put them just above the bar itself. This is the bar. I can put little wood blocks like right here, and I still got plenty of room for clamping pressure on the wood. And I'll figure out a way of doing that without setting the bar directly onto the wood. But there's a lot of projects I see online that people do, and then they turn around and then they complain about how hard it was to get some of the stains off, or some of the things that the bar clamp did. So try to keep it, even if it's just like, 1/16 and 1/8 of an inch up off the top of the wood, try to do that, keep the bar off of it. Now back to the Breman clamps. I mean, I like the fact you can reverse one of the ends on this, and you can actually use it to like a separator if you want to. The other nice thing is the handle. I like how you can pull up on it and it slides and stuff like that. It seems, like I said, maybe with a little wax on there, makes it glide much easier, but I do like the tool. Now, one of the complaints is because of the softer material that it's made out of. There's a track on the top. Let me see if I could show you a picture. And this can wear, fairly easily, and cause the clamp not to want to tighten, and you have problems with it and people take them back and so forth. And a friend of mine out there that has one of the clamps said he hasn't had that problem, but he doesn't over tighten the clamp and put this excessive amount of pressure, on that knurling along the bar. So he doesn't have that problem. And he thought or theorizes that the reason why that strips out along there and people have problems, well, is simply because they're over tightening it. I don't know, because like I said, I don't own them, but it's something to keep in mind. And if you're one of those people, then you might want to take the warranty. That way, if you run into that kind of a problem, you're able to take it back. And not a lot to worry about, because Harbor Freight will more than happily exchange the tool for you or work it out with you. So Harbor Freight's always been good about exchanges and stuff like that. But if it goes beyond a certain period of time, then you may wish, like I said, that you had the warranty. Well, and it's on the tool. The guy out there at the club was telling me there's a lifetime, guarantee on the tool. Okay, just make sure that you understand what that guarantee includes and maybe does not include. But so far from what I was told out there, like I said, Harbor Freight would gladly exchange it or make things right for you if you had a problem with it. But still, and remember, like I said on my past videos, I know that Harbor Freight has a database and they keep your information in there, but as a precaution, I always take with my phone a photo of my receipt. It's just an added precaution. You don't have to do it. I'm just telling you what I do. And one of the questions from them is, okay, like you keep mentioning the glue that you use. Okay, I like using Tight Bond. It's a brand, I've always gone back to it. There's another one out there, I think it's called wood welding glue, something like that. I've used it, it's okay. I really prefer the Tight Bond, and Tight Bond makes a couple of different types. I use Tight Bond 3. Because I don't want to sit and buy a whole bunch of different kinds of glue. So I stick with the Tight Bond 3. That's what works for me, it always has. I'm sure that there are plenty of glues out there, and somebody can drop a comment below on a particular kind of glue that they use. Gorilla Glue, actually, you can get it out at Harbor Freight as well as online. Gorilla Glue for like smaller projects, let's say. I've got a container of Gorilla Glue around here, and man, that stuff is strong. So, what an endorsement? Well, like I said, I use the Tight Bond 3 and Gorilla Glue. Somebody said, well, what about CA glue? Harbor Freight CA glue is, it's okay. All glues, including CA glue, are not made the same. When it comes to my wood turnings and things that are important to me, I use Stick Fast. I'll show you the advertisement, and I'll leave you the link below. Okay, those are the glues that I use. These are the clamps that we're talking about, and the question became, if I needed to, I don't right now, but if I needed to, would I buy the Breman clamps? Yeah, I think I would, and I would definitely give it a try, and I would stop and think, like I said, if you're ruining the knurling on these tracks, and then you criticize the tool, okay, I will go along with the fact I'm sure that it is made out of a softer metal. I'm sure that if you put some Johnson's paste wax on there, any glue drippings just flick right off without a problem. And I'm sure the thin board idea into the C-track strengthens the tool. I'm sure of all those things. I'm also fairly sure that as long as you're not over tightening, you won't ruin the knurling. There's no reason, really, if you think about it, why are you over tightening the clamp? Bring it up, snug it up, don't touch it, leave it alone, let the glue dry. Now, I know we're talking about wood, but still, if you're trying to put two pieces of steel together and you need that added oomph and pressure, okay, I don't know what you'll do to that serration, that knurling, I don't know, because I don't use them that way. If I needed to, and I have in the past, I use my larger steel clamp. That's what I would do, and that's what I would use so that I wouldn't ruin, like I said, that knurling. But I think for in the shop woodworking and things like that, these Breman clamps, considering the cost, if you were to buy a Bessie, which is one of the top of the lines, compared to, the Breman, I would probably go ahead and buy the Breman because of the cost savings. And it seems to be a well-constructed clamp. And Depends on how much you're going to use it. If you have a woodworking shop and you're a professional in the field and all this great stuff, yeah, you might go with the Bessie. If you're the DIYer like me, the handyman at home and stuff, you might want to try the Breman. Otherwise, like I said, I'll leave you the links below on the Irwin stuff. And the other stuff, well, those were just old antique bar clamps, and they still, I'm sure after many decades, they're still holding up well. All right, folks, that's all I got on clamps. I'll see you on the next video. I hope you have a great day. Click subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and I'll keep taking care of the stray cats that hang around my shop. I think I got 4 or 5 of them now. They're cats that people abandon, and I keep food and water out there for them. And yeah, I take care of them. I mean, and I leave the garage door cracked. They can come in, sleep, hang out, whatever at night, you know, out of the elements and stuff. Anyway, just fun. I'll see you on the next video. All right, you folks have a great day. Enjoy your drink. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.